Vaccine-a-Thon, only at Target. Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, 90% efficiency, only $28.99 a dose. Vaccine-a-Thon. Moderna COVID-19 vaccine, 94% efficiency, only $32.99 with souvenir syringe. Janssen Pharmaceuticals COVID-19 vaccine, 92% efficiency in adults over 30 only. Buy one, get one free, $44.29. Red Bull Special Edition Energy Drink. Red Bull gives you wings and 83% immunity. 6-pack, just $33.15. Vaccine-a-Thon. Khloe Kardashian Feminine Hygiene Spray with COVID-19 vaccine, just $14.99. SodaStream Unizer. Make your own sodas infused with COVID-19 vaccine. $88.99 with 3-year warranty on the SodaStream, not the vaccine. Vaccine-a-Thon. Oral-B rechargeable electric toothbrush with vibrating COVID-19 vaccine. $29.99. Sean Connery Memorial Bath Towel. 100% Turkish cotton and 89% effective COVID-19 vaccine. Supplies limited. Vaccine-a-Thon. All month. Only at Target. You're listening to Questionable Material, produced in New York by Jack Helmuth and Brian Sack. QMpodcast.com.
Hey, Brian.
Yep.
I was wondering if you could tell us about your Thanksgiving plans. What are you doing this year? We joked 3 or 4 podcasts ago about your plans for the next 6 months, all just involving you and your kids and nothing else. Mm-hmm. I assume that's the case with COVID spiking up. Are you staying in for the holiday?
I'm staying in, but I am in open defiance of this tyrannical governor, Andrew Cuomo.
Yes.
So he says we're limited to 10 people or fewer in our homes, our private domiciles.
Mm-hmm.
And to that, I say, oh, no, sir. So,
awesome.
Yeah. The problem is I don't know anybody outside of my wife and 2 kids. So
right.
What I've been doing is kind of cruising the neighborhood, looking for people who might look like they'd want to spend Thanksgiving with me in open defiance of the tyrant governor, Andrew Cuomo.
Now describe the look of a person who you think might want to be that.
Well, I mean, so there was a couple walking a dog. They were middle-aged, glasses, and I kind of slowed down my car and rolled down my window and looked at them and made eye contact. And they said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Turkey party?" And they said, "Excuse me?" And I said, "Turkey party."
Mm-hmm.
And they just kind of looked at one another, then looked back at me, and I said, "Gobble, gobble. Turkey party." And they just kept walking. So I don't need to deal with antisocial people. I'm not going to invite them to the party.
Yeah, stuck up people. You could tell by the glasses that they're going to be stuck up.
Yeah. So I leaned out the window. I was like, "Suit yourself." And I hit the gas.
Oh, good for you. That's a shame. What okay, so all right, so that was a strikeout. Tell me about your next attempt to gather people for your Halloween party this year.
Well, there's a kid riding his bike, a little neighborhood, and he's riding his bike and he's got the training wheels on. And I rolled up and rolled down the window and I said, "How you doing today?" And he said, "Good." And he seemed a little apprehensive.
Oh.
And I said, "Do you want to come over my house?" And he said, "What?" And I said, "Thanksgiving's coming. Would you like to come over my house? I've got turkey and gravy and stuffing and all that stuff." And he kind of seemed, I mean, I'm not a good judge of this because I don't have a degree in psychology, but he seemed like he was paralyzed with fear. And I just kept looking at him. And I said, "Well, is it a yes or is it a no? Is it a yes or is it a no?" And he just kind of was shaking. And I felt like I was about to close the deal and I was going to add one to our roster of Thanksgiving guests. Yeah. And then out comes this mean dude with what looked like a Remington 12 gauge. And he's just, very aggressive posture.
Right.
And I see that and I was like, "Are you coming too?" And then that's when he shouldered the arm. I mean, and just took it. And that's when I hit the gas because I don't know what to expect with these shotgun people.
Yeah, of course. I know you've had a lot of run-ins with them over the years with your attempts to gather people for various events.
Yeah. So, I mean, whatever.
Do you think Well, what do you think that kid's reaction was about? I mean, do you think the kid was just afraid? He's like, oh, I've got other plans. How do I say this nicely?
I don't know. Maybe he works for the governor. Maybe he's an informant and he was in on my scheme to have more than 10 people to fight the tyrant governor of this state.
Yeah.
But, or maybe he was indoctrinated on this stranger danger nonsense.
Oh my gosh.
That has resulted
Do people still believe that?
Yeah. And it's resulted in a lot of awkward incidents where I'm just trying to get kids into my car. And yet, they've got some kind of fantasy about what that's about.
Yes.
I did have puppies.
I know you did. You do have candy sometimes that you don't know what to do with.
Absolutely. My friend is a candy jobber.
That's right.
But
I mean, sometimes you do have urges that can't be met otherwise. I mean, it's not all bad.
It's not. But these parents have put filth in their kid's head.
I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, you don't deserve that. None of this is your fault.
Nope. So I just keep trying. I got pulled over.
Oh.
Because apparently some creep was going around the neighborhood trying to pick kids up. So I get pulled over by state policeman, and he comes up and he starts talking to me, asking me what I'm doing. And I said, I'm getting friends for Thanksgiving, and you look like you're a friend. And he asked for my license and registration and a lot of questions. He was just trying to get to know me. Where am I from? Where was I going? What am I doing around here? Have I been interacting with people, pulling up in my car, driving slowly, maybe intimidating them with a small caliber pistol that I wouldn't have a permit for. And, he's digging information. I'm just like, this sounds like friend talk, like something we should be talking over a glass of wine and some turkey. What do you say about that?
And what did he say?
I got a court appearance in 2 weeks. So I don't know. I guess I'll find out then.
And that might be considered bribery. They won't take it as the love that you're trying to show.
Yeah, I just realized in 2 weeks, Thanksgiving will be over. So he's not even going to make it.
Yeah. What did the officer say about the child tied up in your trunk?
That's a no-no.
That's a no-no? So you got off with a warning?
Yeah.
That was unrelated to Thanksgiving, though.
That's not Thanksgiving. And they have their quota, and I think he already met his quota.
Oh,
so he didn't need
quota cops.
He didn't need to write another ticket for a child in trunk.
Well, it's funny that we're talking about Thanksgiving, Brian, because I had actually wanted to talk about the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Perhaps our nation's greatest holiday.
Yes.
Black Friday.
Oh, I was going to say Friendsgiving, but Black Friday, yes.
Oh, yeah. Friendsgiving is cute or whatever, but there's no money to be made off of that.
That's right.
So I was wondering if you wanted to sort of share. You have some great tips and tricks for. You wrote the book on Black Friday, right?
I did. I was it was always a passion of mine, Black Friday.
Right. Tell us about that.
I had a friend, his name was Omar. And he was a security guard. And he worked at a Walmart. And he was trampled to death on Black Friday by a stampeding mob of people who wanted to get a flat screen TV for $299. And that's when I fell in love with the idea of Black Friday.
When you found out about those sorts of deals.
Yeah. I mean, for Omar to give his life so that people can get a decent deal on a Kobe brand television, I was just absolutely, gobsmacked. It made me realize, oh my God, Black Friday is huge. And I need to write about it.
Yes. You love to hear the sort of like, where the passion comes from for people. That's a really sweet story.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why you wrote the book about Black Friday. And what was it called again? Yeah. Did you say already?
I called it Schwarzer Freitag. It's Black Friday in German.
Yeah, I figured.
And I wanted people to be like, what is this book? Like, what's the deal? Why is this in German? Nowadays, you need an interesting cover and you need an interesting title because there's so much clutter to break through. So I thought if somebody's in a store, the bookshop, and they see this Schwarzer Freitag, in the Gothic font on the book,
right,
with the graphics, then they're gonna want to know what this book is about.
That makes I was going to say it makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't say that, but yeah, I guess in your world that makes a lot of sense. So so you wrote the book on Black Friday. What are some you said in your chapter about what businesses can do to maximize on Black Friday? What are some of your tips for on the business side of things? Everyone always just talks about the deals, but how can businesses take advantage?
Well, obviously you want to have, low prices, of course.
Of course.
But you want to get people in to the store. That's the big thing. You're building up this anticipation to the point where people are foaming at the mouth and willing to trample a human being to death for a bargain.
Yep.
Right. And what adds to that is the news coverage. And when you see people, assaulting one another over Cabbage Patch Kids or whatever the latest Black Friday item is, it helps, that fear of missing out, the FOMO.
Yes.
You want to build up the FOMO.
Okay.
And there are lots of ways to do that, but
like how? I don't have that sort of advertiser's mind.
Well, I mean, you line up, you want to build up, it's self-fulfilling. People get excited. They see the footage on TV of people bursting through the stores and they want to become part of that. Well, one of the ways to energize people is to aerosolize methamphetamine. And
So I'm sorry.
Sure. No, it's okay. And what you do is you walk up and down the sidewalk with a pump sprayer, usually used for pesticides or whatever. And you spray aerosolized methamphetamine in the air. And what that does is that gets people very energized and agitated. Their breathing increases. It becomes rapid. Their heart's beating. And they're much more prone to bursting through a door or any kind of barrier, trampling someone and getting those TVs and fighting tooth and nail to make sure that they're the one who walks out of there with that item.
Right. Wow. That makes a heck of a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you also want to get people in your store.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
So, there, of course, you have circulars, you can have ads, you can run TV, radio commercials getting, doors open 11 p.m. when you should be at home with your family celebrating Thanksgiving. But,
right.
But doors open. What we've done is we've done the corral method.
I don't know what that is.
Well, you want to force people in basically toward your store. And
okay.
Of course, the best way to do that is to create like a ring of arson. And so you have buildings on fire, you have routes that are closed off because of fire and police activity. So you're getting down, you're narrowing it down until there's one main road that people are kind of flooding in, fleeing the fire, fleeing
an escape route.
An escape route. They think it's an escape route when in fact it just leads right up to the doors of the store.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Now, how do you make sure that happens? I mean, it's a good idea, but it seems like a lot of legwork.
It's a lot of arson. It's a lot, you need help. I mean, there are people who are willing to help you. There are pyromaniac support groups. You can kind of infiltrate and talk to people there and recruit them. And of course, it depends on the country. Like in Spokane, we dropped the whole arson plan. We couldn't find enough people willing to set fire to buildings and corral folks. But what we did was we ran a radio campaign, kind of like a War of the Worlds type thing.
Oh.
And it was, we had claimed that there was some kind of horrible zombie horde. And, all the supplies would be found at Walmart. By the way, it's Black Friday, so you're going to enjoy those Black Friday savings. And then we had radio play. Basically, you'd hear people being murdered in the street and screaming and their brains being eaten and stuff. And I mean, we created such a panic that that Black Friday was like 500% busier than any other Black Friday.
Wow, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lovely story. Why now? I mean, you could probably just take some B-roll from a defund the police rally. I think you could probably just air that.
What we're doing in Georgia, we're going to claim that you can buy more votes.
Oh, so that's smart.
There's a sale on votes and they will be counted. So, we've got a heavy radio and TV campaign to kind of drive people to Target
Wow, that makes so much sense. And so you're still active in this community. So you're a consultant for different businesses around the country?
Yeah.
You didn't just write the book, you're active in it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know I consult. Anybody who's willing to pay gets consulting from me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you actually devoted a whole chapter to this, of the psychology of this, but could you talk a little bit about the jewelry industry and how they, some of your advice for them to get people to buy diamonds they may not necessarily want or need?
Well, I mean, we claim that diamonds actually contain magical properties that will protect you from COVID and leprosy.
Well, that's an interesting combo. Why did you want to hit that leprosy market, which seems thinner than maybe it used to be?
It's thinner, literally, but especially when stuff falls off. But it's a disease that doesn't get talked about enough, and it's one of those things. It sounds like a good thing to not have. Yeah,
for sure.
A lot of people don't even know quite what it is. So you just say, hey, you're not going to get COVID, you're not going to get leprosy, and 2 months of your salary, please. And it sounds like a good proposition to many people.
How do you convince a man to buy a woman a diamond? Not for a wedding, not whatever, but this couple has been married. Heck, it could be boyfriend, girlfriend. How do you convince sort of dumb men to buy some sort of diamond pendant, diamond chain? She'll love you forever. Like, how do you convince them to do that?
Well, for a long time, I had advised that the commercials be, there'll be a lot of innuendo.
Okay.
Like the husband comes home and he opens up the box and the wife sees it and picks up the ring and slides it on her finger very slowly with lubricant. And
what?
And that's like the subtle approach, right? We found that the direct approach is just better. You get a better response. People, a lot of people don't get subtle messages.
Right.
They don't get subtle hints. So you need to kind of present to them. So we have just an all text TV campaign that's just like, if you buy a ring for your wife, she will have sex with you tonight. And that's what it says.
Wow.
And then it's just do it now, do it now, do it now. And then the address of the store.
What's the address of the store? I need it.
It's tailored to local markets.
Which market? Where is the store?
In your case, Dobbs Ferry. So that's what is it? That's Wayne's Ring Mart.
Okay. Well, yeah, I know Wayne's.
So you would just go there and spend your 2 months salary and you will get what you are looking for.
And I just set up for continual billing and we're all set. We're all good.
Excellent.
I didn't even know that was an option on a website like that.
Yeah. And it can't be canceled, which is great.
I see. I didn't even read. I was in such a hurry. I didn't read the fine print. I accept terms.
Yeah.
Shoot, what did I just accept?
Well, for the merchant, it's a non-cancelable. So it's good for business because it's a promise of continual perpetual income for life.
Man, but it was $1,200 a month. That's a lot of money for me.
Yeah.
Now you also sort of spend about half your book looking out for the consumer, giving them sort of tips and tricks for Black Friday, how to make it, how to secure the best deal, the best way to prepare. So why don't we start there? What's the best way to prepare and, quote unquote, attack Black Friday?
I mean, ideally, you started preparing earlier in the year. Oh. I know it's difficult because a lot of the gyms closed in March and many of them haven't reopened. So we've fallen behind in our physical ability for combat. A lot of dojos and things have shut down the mixed martial arts community. So it's a tough year for Black Friday this year because we've let ourselves go physically. So a lot of the things we are used to, the hand-to-hand fighting, the pushing, the shoving, the pulling of hair, the kicking, the running, all these athletic endeavors. Those are all going to take a hit since, COVID has kind of shut that down. So I think a lot of us are going to have to rely on, firearms, sticks, poles.
The tools of the trade is what you'd call them?
Yeah. Pikes, whatever you might have lying around the house. That's probably your best bet, assuming, many of us have gone soft.
Right. That makes sense. If you do the market research, that of course.
So,
You know, I mean, I can't get up and down the stairs without sitting down midway. I mean, I'm certainly running after not running after a three heat toaster.
Right. So you're gonna kind of push your way toward the front door of the store. It's gonna be crowded. There'll be people. You might get some pushback. The aerosolized methamphetamine is going to help for sure. It's going to give you that initial burst of energy, so that when they blow the whistle and they start screaming "buy, buy, buy, buy," that's when you're gonna take your homemade pike. You're gonna ram it through the ribs of the person next to you. You're gonna stumble over whoever was unfortunate enough to trip, and you're gonna get in there and get your bargains.
I need those bargains.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Homemade pikes, you say? Okay.
Whatever suits you. Some people are pike people. Some people are club people.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just put in H in my Google search.
Yeah.
The first thing that came up, homemade pikes, Black Friday.
No kidding. Yeah. So people are really preparing.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that came up over, Howard Johnson's and Howard the Duck and stuff. I mean, just with the H.
And homosexual movies.
Yeah. Well, I've favorited that.
Oh, so that wouldn't come up.
What are some of the big must-have gifts? Well,
the Farberware leg sauna is exactly what it sounds like. It's a sauna for your legs.
Okay.
It clasps around your legs, left and right, and heats up. And by doing that, it will. It's like being in a sauna, but only on your legs.
How does the device work?
Well, there's one. You pull your legs into each of the sauna tubes.
Okay.
You plug it in, and then it's just going to provide a very dry heat that will drain your legs of all fluids.
Okay.
And so, if you've ever wanted to have those, long legs like a supermodel has, this is the opportunity. And this is why it's one of the top gifts of 2020.
Well, it sounds great. What's it retailing for?
It is, the Black Friday price is $189.95. And you can split that into 16 payments if you have to. Gosh.
I would hope that you could do it in fewer payments than that. Well, that's great. And what does it normally go for?
Normally, it's incredible savings. Normally $499.99. So you see what the savings are.
It's like 60% off or something.
It's crazy. Black Friday prices.
Wow. What's this year's Cabbage Patch doll? What's the must-have for all parents to get their child?
It's called Identity Kin.
Okay, what's that? I have kids. I need to know this.
Well, it's a doll, and it's got it changes color, race, gender, sexual preference, hair color, religion on a daily basis.
Okay, I see.
So that it includes everybody's. It's the most inclusive doll in the world, and it has a little button on the back, and you press it, and it's got a rotating bunch of phrases.
Oh,
so, I'm a girl. You press it. I'm a boy now. I'm gender neutral. My pronouns are they, them.
Wow.
He, she.
That's so modern.
Yeah, and it was designed by a committee, and who wanted
as all the best things are.
Yeah, exactly. And they wanted to make sure that everything was represented in every possible way, shape, or form. So, Monday morning, your kid might wake up with Labina, who is a gay male redhead, and the pronouns are they, them. And the next morning, it's Quan, and he's an Asian. He's a he, him, but he's got blonde hair.
Oh,
and black skin. So it's everything. It's amazing.
This sounds like the gift of the year.
It is. It is definitely, and it's one of those gifts that is absolutely worth trampling, fighting, stabbing, poking, grabbing, stealing for.
Well, and it sounds like the perfect gift that your child won't love, but you can post to Facebook to sort of show that you get it.
Yeah, you want to let everybody know how you as a parent are completely just so open and understanding and knowledgeable and progressive.
That's great. And so the kid will open the present under the tree and then play with it for a couple minutes. And then when do you give it to charity?
You can give it to charity as soon as you've taken a photo of your child holding it and posted that to social media, because it's really more about getting that point across.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for sharing everything that you know about Black Friday. You truly are the expert.
I am an expert on Black Friday.
I know. That's what I said. You don't need to mansplain when I said, I said it.
Fine.
That was my turn to be the smart guy. And then you sort of ran over it.
All right. I'm sorry.
Are you? It feels like you think I'm being crazy right now.
I'm just saying it because I don't like this awkwardness.
When I talked in therapy about how I feel sometimes on the podcast, this was the example this is the type of thing I was talking about.
I wasn't there for your therapy, so I wouldn't know. I was Betsy, Jesus.
I know you're a prolific many things, but to me, the thing I think of most after being an ad man is that you're a prolific screenwriter.
Yeah, I love to write screenplays.
Yeah, I was able to download all of your the screenplays that you've been working on during these last couple of months. I mean, it's amazing that you could write this many 100, 120, 140 page screenplays in just the period of a couple of months. It's remarkable.
I am a writing machine. That's what they call me.
You really are. And I was wondering if I could just I have here a list of some of the movies that you've written over this stretch of time. Yeah. I was wondering if you could just sort of pitch us what happens in these movies, because they sound exciting.
They are exciting. Trust me. Yeah, I'd love to.
The first one is called Lassie Stuck in New York.
Lassie Stuck in New York.
Yeah, where you're bringing back Lassie?
No, it's a Scottish girl.
I'm sorry. This is why you asked someone to explain things. Tell me, because I didn't read it. I just saw the.
Yeah, no, I can understand the confusion. Yeah, Lassie Stuck in New York. So basically, it's about a Scottish girl she has a condition that does result in her being very hairy. So she has an incredible amount of hair, and she does resemble like a golden retriever. But she's got a heart of gold, quite honestly. And
so many people do.
And she lives on the Scottish island of Skye.
Okay.
And there's a village dance. And at the dance, they had a raffle ticket. Nobody would dance with her because she looks like a dog. She's very hairy. At the dance, they have a raffle, and she winds up winning a trip to New York. So she flies to New York, and she lands. And of course, there's a big funny scene where the immigration guy, is looking at the passport photo and her, and she kind of looks like a golden retriever and doesn't really resemble the passport photo. It was taken a lot younger, years earlier when she wasn't as hairy. So there's a lot of comic mischief going on there, but she finally gets through security after 4 hours, and she gets into New York City, and lo and behold, her wallet is stolen by a gypsy boy. So now she's got no money. Lassie's stuck in New York.
And that the movie ends there?
She's standing at the bottom of Manhattan, staring out at the sea, and all she wants to do is go home. And then you see this army of gypsies coming after her, and these tears coming down her eyes, and they just call her Dog Girl, Dog Girl, Dog Girl.
Oh,
yeah. It's heartbreaking, but it's a comedy.
God. So one of your heartbreaking comedies.
I like to tear the heartstrings up with laughter.
That's probably the most enjoyable way to do it. I would guess.
Yeah.
Huh.
So she's stuck. Okay. Lassie is stuck in New York.
Lassie's stuck in New York.
Yeah.
All right. You might have some people a little confused by once the lights go down back when there are theaters again.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest. It was going to be about the dog, but then they sent me a cease and desist.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
So the next screenplay that I see here on your list of movies that you've written, Saving Private Ryan again.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So it ends the other Private Ryan, he's an old man, right?
Yeah.
He's at the cemetery in Normandy, and he's weeping at the gravestone of the guy who sacrificed his life to save him. And then a bolt of lightning strikes all the crosses and tombstones at the Normandy cemetery.
Uh-huh.
And suddenly all these deceased soldiers from World War II start clawing through the ground.
Really?
Yeah, they're zombies.
Oh my gosh.
It's reanimated them. So they start coming out of the ground. Well, what is he? He's an old man. What am I going to do? So he climbs up one of the trees. And he's just sitting up in the trees. Meanwhile, there's a whole army of zombie soldiers, wandering around. And he's in huge danger. So a plane flies by and he kind of waves from the top of the plane and they're like, oh my God, that's that dude that we saved back in World War II. We got to do it again. And so there's a whole mission undertaken. So, the whole movie is dedicated to rescuing him from these zombie soldiers. And the irony being they used to be on his team and now they're zombies. So they're not. They just want to eat him, even though he's an old man. And at some point he's like, it's nice to be wanted, but not that way. And he just kind of looks at the camera, kind of breaks the fourth wall.
That seems like a weird choice to me.
Yeah, I like to break things up in my films.
You like to hit, you're a genre swapper. You like to hit a lot of genres per movie.
Yeah, but your heart's beating, you're nervous, and then suddenly he's looking at the camera, talking directly to the camera. As an old man, it's nice to be wanted, but not this way. And then he kind of points his thumb to all the zombies.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Now, in so many movies these days, you sort of have to force a love interest in there.
Yeah.
What's your love interest in this movie?
And
how does it resolve itself?
He's on this tree and he looks over and he sees what appears to be a zombie at the top of the tree waving at him. And he said, and he's like, this is really unusual because most of the zombies are just kind of stumbling around like zombies do. But this one seems to be self-aware and is waving at me and trying to get my attention. And then he realizes it's not a zombie.
What?
Yeah, it's Sarah Jessica Parker.
No kidding.
Yes. And so that's the beginning of their relationship.
That's the romance.
Yeah, different, they're on different trees, but they talk to each other and they throw each other notes written on leaves. Meanwhile, the zombies are all just down there waiting to get them. And while the army is putting together their plan for rescuing Private Ryan and Sarah.
And Sarah Jessica Parker. Now, why did you choose to have her play herself in this movie?
There were two reasons I wanted to use Sarah. One was because she just seemed right for the role.
Sure.
And the other reason is because Matthew Broderick killed two people with his car and he owes me because those two people were relatives of mine.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So there was part of the agreement was that he had to appear in any productions or films or television, anything that I do as part of the kind of the compensation for killing my great aunt.
That was what we call a happy accident.
Yeah, it's great. And it's one of the reasons you'll be hearing more Matthew Broderick on the podcast. Okay. I look forward to that. Yeah.
Got a couple more movies here that I would like to ask you about. Yeah. It's the Pretty Woman reboot, and you're calling it Intelligent Heteronormative Female Person, parentheses, she, her.
Yes.
So you're rebooting the Pretty Woman story?
Yeah, absolutely. It's dated.
I could see that some people would feel it's dated. So how are you going to clean it up but still be true to the original?
Well, I'm making it more acceptable in today's climate. I'm obviously dreadfully fearful of being accused of not being a woke screenwriter.
Of course, that's the worst thing you can be.
Absolutely. And so it's worse than pancreatic cancer.
It is.
So I'm taking a movie that, we all innocently accepted as being kind of like a man and a woman and changing it into the new understanding of men and women and who menstruates and who doesn't. And
it's a weird thing to get into in film.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what Universal said. But they should have seen the screen test. But Obviously, all the characters have to, let you know what their pronouns are within seconds of meeting them.
Sure.
We can never assume that, the lead, the quote unquote pretty woman, is necessarily a biological female, although she is either way. It's not worth debating, and it can't be debated. And
right.
And if she desires to fight other women in mixed martial arts, she may.
So what happens in the end? Is it okay to sort of be objectifying people and calling people pretty or not in 2020? Isn't that frowned upon or something?
Yeah, you're not allowed. I mean, they don't really address her looks.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be played by Monique. And the Richard Gere role will be played by Halle Berry.
Yeah.
So I expect, there's going to be a lot of confusion. But that's just, the nature of the beast. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think it's a love story for the Times.
Yep. For the New York Times.
For the New York Times. Yeah. They've already reviewed it and given it 5 stars.
Gosh, you haven't even made it yet. That's so strange.
Haven't even shot it yet.
Well, fantastic, Brian. Thank you for having the balls to write this screenplay.
Somebody needs to entertain today's kids.
Wait a minute. This man in a hooker store. I'm sorry, it's not a man in a hooker store anymore. It's this prostitute stories for kids.
Well, she's a sex worker.
Right. Okay, I see.
Yeah, it's for kids. What I was hoping for is a movie that they could probably show right before or after Drag Queen Story Time.
That makes sense. Okay, so the last movie here on the list of movies that you wrote that I would just love to hear about. It's called The Muppets Take Chernobyl.
Yep.
What is your thing?
The Muppets Take Chernobyl.
Why? I mean, Disney doesn't even want that property. They're stuck with it. Why do you keep doing this?
I can't get enough of the Muppets.
Well, why? I get the Muppets take Manhattan, but why do they take Chernobyl? What's that wacky story about?
Well, I'll tell you.
Please do.
So obviously Chernobyl gets a bad rap.
Obviously.
Because it's been abandoned since the 80s.
Yep.
And so what happens is the United States, with its legacy of racism and slavery and hatred and oppression, becomes an intolerable place for the Muppets to live.
God. Okay. It feels heavy-handed to me for the opening of a Muppet movie.
Yeah, no, they're the other. And it starts with just white people shunning the Muppets. You stink, you suck, you're lousy. And yeah, just not, they feel like the other, that they don't belong, that this is not their country. And so what can they do? Well, Gonzo, who is a huge history buff, says, listen, there's a place, it's over near Russia, kind of in Europe, and there's an infrastructure there. It's got buildings, and they haven't been used in a long time. And it's a place that we could call home, free and far from the evil Americans and their hatred and their legacy of intolerance and all the other negatives.
Sure.
And we need to go there, and we're going to claim it for ourselves. We're going to call it Muppetopia. And so,
okay, Muppetopia.
So he goes around and he rallies everybody. He gets Kermit behind. He gets Miss Piggy. He gets Grover. The Oscar, of course, takes a little bit of work, but he finally convinces Oscar, and they all decide, yeah, that's it. We're going to Chernobyl and we're claiming it for ourselves.
That's so cool. That's so inspiring.
Yeah. And so they head over to Ukraine. And they come into Chernobyl. There's not much resistance. There's only a handful of old people living there, and their minds are so addled by the radiation that they don't even know doesn't even bother them that there are, puppet people. living amongst them. It doesn't faze them. They're used to it. They've seen radishes that are 4 feet tall. They've seen, rabbits with 23 legs.
Yeah.
The corn glows.
Right. So the Muppets are kind of normal here.
Muppets are normal to these people.
Good.
And they welcome them. They say, come on. Yes. Live here with us. It's been kind of quiet. Don't know what happened. Just come live with us. Of course they reclaim some of the houses there, and there's a whole montage of them sweeping and cleaning and painting and these houses that have been abandoned for decades.
Yeah.
But they're fixing them up, and they're turning the place into Muppetopia. And the only problem is a lot of the roofs are leaky after all these years, obviously, right?
Of course.
So they need steel roofs. And Gonzo has the idea. He's like, we can get steel roofs to protect us from the elements. And he goes, well, where can we find that much steel? And as he's thinking that, he looks over to where the reactor was. And he sees they've built this giant steel structure over it. So he says, well, if we dismantle that, we could have all the roof we'd ever need. So then there's a whole scene of them, the Muppets, climbing all over the steel structure that's covered the Chernobyl plant and tearing it up with rotary grinders. And they rip the whole thing apart. And then, you see the funny scenes of the Muppets, dragging these big pieces of metal that they're going to put on their roofs. And they make their roofs, right?
Yep.
Muppetopia is open for business. They hang a sign, Muppetopia, open for business. Well, obviously, by removing the steel coverings and then for some reason demolishing a lot of the concrete that had been poured on top of the reactor, they've released a lot of radioactive gas.
That's what I was afraid of. That's what I was afraid of.
So, it's not a problem at first until 30-foot Kermit.
Oh, God.
So you see Miss Piggy just sitting there, and she's sitting in her house underneath her steel roof, and she's making some dinner. And then you just hear this boom, 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 boom. And she's like, what is that? And what's that? And she goes outside.
Right. Oh, yeah.
30-foot
is Frank Oz recording with us today?
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. I just played back a section from the table read. And
go on.
And so she looks up, and there's this 30-foot Kermit because of the radiation. And, he's like, hi-ho, what's going on here? And then you see the tears flooding his eyes, and he's terrified. I'm a monster. I'm a monster. And so, everybody sees this 30-foot tall Kermit who is, ravaged by third-degree burns. Skin, is no longer green. It's kind of like a purplish brown color and looks like leather. And it's falling off, like pieces of it fall off.
Right.
And he's like suffering, and he's in pain, and he's scared, and he's worried. And so what do the other Muppets do? Well, they unite to drive him out of Muppetopia. You don't belong here. Get out. And so you see this whole thing with signs. They're going around the neighborhood. Get him out. No mutant Kermits wanted.
Oh, yeah, ugly.
Snuffleupagus is enlisted to maybe tie ropes to him and just yank him out. And so what I was trying to do is show how it doesn't matter where you are, people are just assholes.
That was your takeaway from your Muppet movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Normally, just so you know, normally Muppet movies are about like chasing your dreams, dreaming big, friendship, the power of friendship and being positive. Huh. Those are some classic Muppet themes.
Really?
Yeah, you should probably watch a Muppet movie.
I have not seen one in so long.
I know you haven't. It continues to show more and more in your Muppet work.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, just that's something to look for. Last question about that movie. What changes about the other Muppets? As I assume some other wacky things happen to them with all that radiation in the air, the ground, the soil, the water.
Well, a lot of them, they have their enlarged thyroids, and Miss Piggy develops a limp. But I think, one of the weirdest ones is Grover.
Yeah.
He goes over to Oscar and he's like, Oscar, open up. And there's no response. And he pulls up the lid and it's just this putrefying liquid. It's like a radioactive jello. And so what happened was the radiation was really amplified by the steel of the trash can. And just liquefied the guy. Yeah. And Grover's just like, he drops the lid and you just see him turn and he just walks into the woods. You okay?
Yeah, I'm just so sad that I always knew Oscar would go that way. And oh, God.
The news cycle is always so dominated by Trump and whatever he says or does or tweets that a lot of news falls through the cracks.
Yes.
And my job is to find those articles and to tell you and the listeners of the news they missed. So are you ready? Are you ready for the news you missed?
Please tell us some of the news that we missed.
All right, then. President Trump is pinning his hopes of an election victory on the previously unheard state of Texissippiana. According to Eric Trump, who's currently serving as interim chief of staff after some unexpected turnover, the very populous new state is east of Texas and south of New Orleans. According to a Wikipedia entry that was just created for the state, Texissippiana is comprised of Cuban exiles, religious conservatives, self-made millionaires, subscribers to National Review, Proud Boys, militia types, Fortune 500 CEOs, police unions, and coal miners, and is therefore believed to lean heavily Republican.
Oh.
Its 413 electoral votes would push Trump well over the 270 needed to clinch the election.
Wow.
President Trump says Texissippiana was granted statehood by executive order back in August, and the reason it was never officially announced was because he was really hoping to surprise America for Christmas. The Biden campaign released a statement saying there's absolutely no such thing as a state called Texissippiana, and that even if there were, the president cannot grant statehood by executive order. Trump took to Twitter to insist that Texissippiana was, quote, most definitely a state that exists, end quote, and that when he gets the 413 electoral votes, quote, Sleepy Joe is going to soil his depends, end quote,
Ooh.
Which coincidentally is also the state motto for Texissippiana.
Certainly there must be some other stories that I've missed.
You would be correct. The organizers of the White People Suck celebration announced that they were officially pulling the plug on the event after incredibly disappointing ticket sales. The event, which had been touted as a racially polarized Woodstock, but without the peace and/or music, was supposed to be a glorious 3-day outdoor condemnation of whiteness on a large farm in upstate New York. As of 11 a.m. Tuesday, only 8 tickets had been sold, 7 to a women's book club in Brooklyn, and 1 to Ezra Klein of Vox. In a statement that was grudgingly written in English, the language of colonizers, the event's organizers blamed lack of interest in the event on, quote, systemic racism, white supremacy, white fragility, and all the other things, end quote. Co-sponsor Nicole Hannah-Jones said that the White People Suck celebration was a chance for white people, or blankies as she calls them, to learn about their inherent racism and complicity in all bad things. She added that while that message has permeated middle and high school curricula, there are still far too many white people unwilling to accept how terrible they are. Says Hannah-Jones, quote, it's so typical for whites to think that they're not racist, end quote. Yeah. Event organizers said that tickets will not be refunded, as expecting your money back is a perfect example of white privilege.
I mean, that is a heck of a lot of news. There certainly couldn't be any more.
Wrong. Oregon's mobile euthanasia van program got off to a rocky start on Wednesday. Last year, Oregon voters overwhelmingly approved the use of mobile euthanasia vans to provide assisted suicide services to terminally ill individuals. However, the program was heavily criticized for what critics are calling outrageous negligence. The use of a refurbished Mr. Softy ice cream truck was to blame for the confusion. The officials said that at the very least, the Mr. Softy logo and menu should have been removed from the truck, and the van's function as a mobile euthanasia van should have been much more obvious. Devin Orbison said that a child being euthanized when he thought he was getting a Tweety Bird frozen treat is every parent's nightmare.
So are we going to end the show on dead kids at a playground?
That was questionable material. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Make sure to review the podcast. Make sure to visit qmpodcast.com.